All right. Jacob, thanks so much for joining us. Super excited to have you back on. Um, for those of you that didn't tune in to our previous Instagram live a little while ago, Jacob was a guest of ours, and we had an amazing chat about the company that he works for, which is called Sezzle, our buy now, pay later app that we offer our customers, and many other customers use them as well, within the e-com ecosystem. But super excited to have you on, Jacob. I know we always get along and have a great conversation and just, throw questions back and forth. And I think there's so much value in what you guys do, but definitely welcome on and super pumped to have you on. And if you don't mind, if you can give people just a bit of an intro as to maybe who you are, what you do, and for those of our listeners that really don't know Sezzle or don't know the buy now, pay later kind of world, if you can kind of share a little bit of information on that, that would be amazing.
Yeah, thank you again for having me, and thanks for doing this. This is always really exciting to be a part of, and we're happy to do it. For those of you that aren't familiar with Sezzle or Buy Now Pay Later in general, we're a short-term installments program for consumers. They're able to split up their purchases over time, so it helps with buying power, helps with solving credit insecurity. People with traditional lack of access to credit or those looking to get away from it, they can split their purchases up over time. They don't pay any interest. They don't go through a credit check, so it's really friendly to the consumer. But then for businesses, they're typically seeing new customers, higher basket sizes, higher conversions, and then Sezzle assumes all the risk of non-payment, fraud, chargebacks, etc. So it tends to be pretty friendly to the businesses too. But it's been an exciting time in e-commerce, and like I said, we're excited to be here. So thanks again for having us.
Yeah, no, man, awesome. I loved working with you guys. Still love working with you guys. It's been almost, a little over probably 3 years at this point. And it's funny, the buy now, pay later, world has definitely exploded over the last, call it within 3 to 5 years. I think with the increased amount of purchases happening online, a lot of merchants taking an opportunity to provide their customers with, an accessible cash management tool, if you will. But it's funny, when I first got exposed to buy now, pay later, the first question I asked was, what's the difference between that and a credit card? If I'm technically buying now and paying later, what is the primary difference between a buy now, pay later application versus a credit card, for those that are not aware?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different flavors of buy now, pay later that you'll see out there. There's short-term installments, there's longer-term installments with interest, and where we really fall is that short-term segment. So more of the long-term options are more akin to a regular credit card. There's a credit check, you're opening up a new line of credit, and it's a lot riskier for the business operating those loans, if you will. Where we focus and where we differ from a credit card is it's 4 payments over 6 weeks. So it's
Right.
still a relatively short period of time. But because of that, we focus on, basket sizes 0 to about $1,500, and we're able to approve customers at much higher rates with much less information than a credit card would. So think customers that don't have credit scores or those that are new to country that can't get an established credit profile that are typically being turned down from using a credit card. We just take their name, email address, date of birth, and a phone number, and we can approve that shopper for a limited loan, if you will, at a much smaller rate, but we can approve them at much higher percentages. And then we're
Right.
not doing the predatory aspects of charging interest and making money on interest and ruining credit if people can't pay us back. And so it's a unique niche. We call it credit on training wheels, but it's a unique niche that hasn't really been around until the last five
Right.
years. We're really helping a different segment of customers with that traditional lack of access. And we've seen that change a little bit to customers looking to get away from credit cards, but that's primarily the difference between us and a regular credit card. So it's
Yeah.
much easier, much quicker, and it's much less risky.
Yeah, for sure. No, I appreciate that. And I want to split this up into basically, two prongs of how we want to approach this. So first prong being I'm using it as a consumer. And the second prong is, I'm offering it to the consumer that's going on my website. And I'll focus on the first, pillar, if you will, first, which is I'm using it as a consumer. And, you know, what you'll notice, more and more is a lot of, online merchants offering these types of solutions. And, you'll notice Sezzle pop up more often. They're become definitely a popular choice for a lot of merchants. And just because of their ease of use, their accessibility, their flexibility. And so it becomes very, very agile for both the merchant and for the consumer as well. To your point, in terms of this, credit on training wheels, it may be a funny term, but it's actually a very intuitive tool to use when you can obtain credit. And it's not like you've got to jump through a million loopholes in order to get whatever limit of credit you're looking for to complete the purchase that you desire. And so from a consumer perspective, different from, let's say, buying a pair of shoes or buying a jacket or anything online from as a consumable, what's so appealing about it is being a consumer buying supplies for your business can now be essentially paid out through this installment plan, at effectively 0% interest, through a model that actually works in accordance to whether it's your paycheck or just the way cash comes into your business. And so that's what's very appealing about it to me from a consumer perspective is I can ultimately pay with my credit card if I have credit available. And then within 30 days, I've got to pay this bill off. And if I don't pay it fully, I'm going to get slammed with a massive amount of interest. Whereas you guys are really offering it and saying, okay, we'll take this basket size of whatever amount, and we're going to split it up into equal payments that we'll just basically withdraw from whatever form of payment you dedicate at equal installments without the obligation to pay this one balloon payment. And so how are you finding the consumer response to using this versus using a credit card, even if they have availability?
Yeah, so a lot of customers are looking to use buy now, pay later, and a lot of consumers in general. And it might be good for businesses here, as you mentioned, buying supplies for your small business, because it's a cash flow management tool. Like you said, you're making this purchase, it's over 6 weeks. We're automatically withdrawing those equal installments every 2 weeks.
Right.
But rather than having to come up with this lump sum of money to pay after 30 days or getting hit with interest, you're still able to pay that over that period of time. But where we really come in, aside from being that installment option and paying it over time, is the flexibility that comes with using us if you cannot pay. So for example, you can reschedule a payment completely free for up to a full month. So we're going to work with that customer and that consumer in order to make sure that they're making those payments in a responsible manner, because ultimately and fully transparently, Sezzle doesn't make any money unless that consumer is fully paying us back. And so we try to encourage our consumers and help out in any way that we can, even if it takes them longer than that 6-week period to pay us back. The rescheduling option is great. But from that consumer standpoint, if you only have to make that payment every 2 weeks, it's much easier to budget in a shorter period of time if you are tight on funds. Like if you purchase a bulk order of items for your small business, and all of a sudden, I don't know, for example, you're driving down the road and your car tire blows out and you have to put money towards that. Of course, your vehicle is going to be a lot more important in that instance, whether you're delivering product or needing to take kids to school or get somewhere. Really, you can focus on putting money towards that and then come back to Sezzle at a later period of time and continue paying that off. But you're not hit with those negative ramifications. And so if you're really looking to get your business off of the ground, you can purchase the products you need, pay for it over time. But if something happens to go wrong over that 6-week period of time, or especially as we go into the holidays and spending is much, much higher, buying gifts for your kids, travel to see family, you name it, we just don't want to have to be a cause of concern for that consumer. And so just really looking to give them the flexibility at another level that they might not get without a lot of those negative ramifications that come with using a regular credit card.
Yeah, you didn't use the word personalization, but we do, and I think that's one massive value add that Sezzle offers, at least our community, is that level of personalization. One of which is not necessarily at the forefront of how the product works, but definitely on the back end, using the example of the car, for instance, and it breaks down. You are talking to makers in a really busy time of the year. They'll probably ditch that car as fast as they can just so they can continue making the product.
Sure.
Yeah. We're makers, so we think about our product first during this time of the year, and we'll say, screw the car, who cares? But you're right. I mean, at the end of the day, the fact that something can just come up, which happens all the time, life happens, we evolve around it, offers that comfort, knowing that there is that flexibility with a company like yourself, of which I haven't seen from anybody else, to be quite honest with you. And so I think, especially credit card companies, they don't care if one tire is blown or your whole car is on fire, you still got to pay that bill. But I think at the end of the day, having that flexibility as what we will consider a cash management tool is super critical from the consumer's end of point to run your business.
Hmm.
And, we all know, like, we're all business owners, and, we've all been in positions where, cash out is a lot faster than cash in. And so trying to manage that and be able to kind of accommodate that bridge, if you will, where it's in a bit of a rough period and car breaks down or something else happens, and then you've got to, adapt to it. Working with partners and having resources that can be flexible actually and naturally provides that level of resourcefulness that business owners actually can benefit from. And I
That's
think,
it. That's exactly. It's a gradual repayment, so it's a lot more consistent, and it's not
mhm,
having to make sure that you have X thousands of dollars at the end of 30 days to pay
yeah,
up. I
yeah.
mean, that's exactly it.
Question about the consumer side again, because I want to hone in on I'm a consumer and I'm using buy now, pay later to make a purchase. What what impact, if any, does a buy now, pay later like Sezzle have on my purchase decision? Like, I'm cruising on a website, I'm trying to find different things. I like a couple of products. I'm not certain that I really want to buy it. Kind of take it to the cart, see the products a little bit higher than I want to spend. What level of influence will Sezzle have on a customer to say, yeah, you know what? Let me check out with Sezzle. This actually makes a lot more sense for me, and how I may want to spend that amount of money.
Yeah, good question. So we typically see about a 20% higher conversion rate on Sezzle purchases than we do with like a regular credit card. And there are a couple of reasons for that. And to kind of get into the mind of a consumer, one is, of course, you're not having to front $1,000 the next day or worry about paying that off in 30 days.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very gradual purchase period. Just say $1,000 to make math easy, $250 today, and then I have 2 weeks to figure out if I really like it or not. So
Mm-hmm.
that consumer can order that product, get it delivered, and actually use it for whatever means they need. And they've only paid $250. So if they decide they don't want it, they can send it back. You're not seeing the sticker shock the next day. You're actually breaking up your purchase over 2 credit card billing cycles,
Yeah.
if you will, rather than one. Um, and so there's a couple of different factors that go into that, but I think the biggest one, like I said, is just not having that sticker shock the next day, and knowing that you have time to return that product. We don't have limitations. We adhere to the policy of the business. So as long as that business is taking that refund, you're getting that refund back.
Yeah.
So ultimately, it's not $1,000 out of your account the next day. It's only $250.
Yeah.
You can physically see and use the product that you're purchasing, decide if you want to keep it or not, and you have so much more time to return that.
That's awesome. And it's unfortunate that you just can't say that every time someone's about to check out. And I think one of the things that I've experienced, whether as a consumer or just talking to other consumers, is, that stigma of using, let's say, Sezzle without knowing what Sezzle's all about, and
Mhm.
not having all of the back end information about it. And again, as a consumer, I've always hesitated to kind of click on checkout, with a buy now, pay later, years ago, when I was not as informed as I have been over the last few years as to the benefits of it, and essentially the ease of use, to be quite honest with you. But what are some of the things that consumers, can do to re-educate themselves on the benefits of it? Where can they go to look at things from a consumer perspective to alleviate some of those concerns or stigmas of using a system like this?
Mhm. So there's a couple different places. So one, of course, is, I don't know about yourself, but every time before I purchase or use something, I'm always looking up reviews, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's in the App Store, if it's on Trustpilot. I go there to make sure, especially when it comes to money. There's a lot of
Sure.
predatory businesses out there. You want to make sure who you're working with is reputable and
Exactly.
honest. Um, and so, like, I always read reviews. Trustpilot is great. Like, if you have an iPhone, just look up Sezzle on the App Store and see that we're flooded with great reviews, and we're really proud of that. There's a lot of players in this space, and so customer service for us is at the forefront, and being totally honest and transparent about what we do, who we are, and finding real reviews from customers that have used us before. We're always trying to do that. And then the second one is, we have a lot of different material that retailers can actually use on their own websites to give information to Sezzle, or give information about Sezzle prior to the customer actually getting to that checkout flow. So whether it's like an FAQ page on a retailer's page, if you see the little Sezzle pricing element on the product display page where it says 4 interest-free payments of X with Sezzle, you can click on that right there, get more information up front about who we are and what we do and what the process looks like. But then we also have full support in-house in Minneapolis, both in English and French. So you can call in and ask questions right away. So
Yeah, it's
there's a
awesome.
couple different factors. The educational piece has been a big puzzle for us to solve over the last couple of years. We can always be better. I think we're doing a great job of it now.
Yep.
Ultimately, the first step is educating the consumer to what it is. The second is to letting them know it's available. And then, of course, the third is that conversion. Then it goes on even into retention. So it's much easier for us, of course, to bring that customer back, show them where else they can use Sezzle. So hopefully they're using it again, and a couple other steps, not to really go down the rabbit hole here, but it just gets me so excited to talk about is we're the only certified B corporation in the space.
Yes.
So for someone that isn't familiar with Sezzle or is looking at a couple of different buy now, pay later options, it's an entire, 2-year audit process to make sure that we're putting purpose and profit on the same playing field. And we're not just saying that we are, but we actually have to prove that we are. And so we try to be that trustworthy option they can come back to that they know isn't going to harm them in the long run. So as much content as we can put out and really work with our retail partners to help them educate their customers, as well as letting our current Sezzle customers know that we're working with a specific retailer. It's this weird dichotomy where we're really trying to educate the masses in that sense.
Yeah. No, it makes a lot of sense.
Ongoing support.
No, I appreciate that. And I don't want to curtail this conversation and focusing on B Corp, but you brought up something that I think is extremely important to alleviate stigma from the consumer's end and from the merchant's end as well, including ourselves. As as Jacob had kind of explained, the fact that they're the only certified B Corp organization that puts profit and purpose on the same page is an extremely important thing to consider, because it's highly regulated and it's highly reviewed to ensure that that criteria is being met at a more frequent cadence than one may think. And so, before you click and say check out with Sezzle and you're getting concerned with who is Sezzle, do they meet the compliancy of a traditional finance business? They're effectively going to take my money, don't know what kind of business they are. Keeping in mind that a certified B Corp is, one of the highest standards you can achieve in terms of having that social sustainability, making sure customers come first, being as transparent to the customers so that there's a level of comfort that they have. But also at the same token, from a merchant's perspective, we want to see that. We want to use a company that's also creates that high standard of customer service and almost is unified with our level of transparency and integrity when dealing with customers as well. I mean, speaking on behalf of us at Village, for instance, we pride ourselves into almost acting like a certified B Corp with our level of purpose and profit at the forefront, being we're trying to deliver as much value, be as transparent to the customer, and also be as supportive with the highest amount of integrity, knowing that we're dealing with people's businesses. It's incredibly important for us, right? Our purpose is not just selling product. Our purpose is to ensure that entrepreneurs continue to fuel this journey that they're on and to develop, and to contribute towards the goals that they're trying to develop. So I think it's huge. And the fact that, you have the ability to kind of bring that forward to us, which I extremely appreciate, is a huge opportunity for everybody to be aware of.
I mean, that's exactly it. You guys, every single tool that you're putting out or solution you're offering or value add that you're offering your customer base, you're instilling a lot of trust into that other vendor
For sure.
that you're using. And it's in a day and age like today where scamming and fraud is so rampant.
Yep.
That trust is super important. We don't take that lightly at all.
For sure. Let's flip the script, dude. Let's move on to I'm a merchant now and I want to offer Sezzle to my customers, and my hands up, I'm a merchant. We offer our customers Sezzle and we're proud to do so. Walk us through your experiences working with different merchants and what their experiences may have been, but maybe just kind of focus on some of the successes and some of the positives that have come out of it. Two types. I don't want to be naive to think that you guys are the only buy now, pay later. So I want to focus on have you been able to experience someone coming off another buy now, pay later, moved on to Sezzle, and have seen, clear advantages by doing so? And then merchants that didn't have any buy now, pay later that have adopted this technology to offer their customers a level of value. Walk us through some of that, those success stories, if you will, because I love the idea to kind of endorse merchants of all sizes to offer this to your customers, right? We're moving into a completely different landscape economically that any other level of value you can provide, direct or indirect, such as this, is hugely beneficial. So walk us through the merchant side, if you will.
Yeah, so I don't want to speak too generally about all of the different buy now, pay later options out there. So a lot of what I talk about is Sezzle specific, though there are a lot of similarities. And feel free to dig in on those. I'm happy to talk to what extent I can about some of the other players out there. But the way that we do it is, I mean, we work with about 45,000 retailers, so we're pretty confident that our solution works. And so what we encourage a lot of retailers to do, especially if you're on a platform with a pre-built integration like Shopify, BigCommerce, Lightspeed, WooCommerce, et cetera, is just test it out. So we don't require any sort of contract or exclusivity or minimums. And so it's super quick to install, but it's just as quick to remove if it's not working out for you. So that's number one. And number two, actually, when coming to figure out what kind of buy now, pay later option you want, it's really important to dissect. Do you want a short-term option, a long-term option? Very dependent on basket sizes. Do you want to charge interest to the consumer? Do you not? Because there are a lot of options out there that can either do both, they do one or the other. But ultimately, at the end of the day, and what I've been encouraging more and more retailers to do is, even away from offering only one buy now, pay later option, as much as we'd love to be the only option on the website, is test a couple of out at the same time. So there is a large segment of customers, I call them buy now, pay later agnostic. They'll use whatever option is available. They're familiar with a couple of them. Great. But there are a lot of customers in this space that are super hyper loyal to one vendor over the other for a couple of different reasons. Of course, there's loyalty programs. You can opt in to build your credit. You get higher limits with better repayment behavior at specific vendors. Some of the vendors have different stores. And so shoppers are looking for where else they can use these tools in particular. And if for whatever reason your competitor is using us and you're not, that customer might go to the competitor instead. And so it's a really broad question. I'm trying to get really niche into that. But first and foremost, it's one, that flexibility you'd be looking for. As a small business, you don't want to get locked into using a tool that might not be working and you're stuck with them for a year or two. Be cautious of super low rates out there at the moment. As we all know, debt isn't super cheap nowadays. And historically, a lot of these businesses ran off of cheap debt. And so don't shy away from accepting a higher processing cost, because at the end of the day, usually it means that vendor is able to approve more customers at higher limits. Because if they're not making money on interest, they're doing something to mitigate their own risk. And then third, of course, would be that geographic availability. So a lot of the different options out there focus on different countries. Sezzle is Canada and the US. If you're looking for an option to sell to European customers, it's probably not us. Full transparency. But even then, it's just really figuring out what is important to your brand. Do you value customer service and support? Do you value flexibility for the customer? Do you value flexibility for yourself? Where are you looking to offer that option? It's a lot of things that you have to consider prior to selecting a partner in this space. So I wish I could get more granular, I suppose, on your question, but in a broad sense of speaking, that's how I would recommend looking at finding a partner.
No, that's awesome. And I'm going to add to that as well, because again, I've got the experience of being a merchant that utilizes Sezzle. And you mentioned one really key operative term, which is brand. And you positioned it to say, you got to determine what brand you want to be. And I think first and foremost, for anyone that is a business owner that's listening to this, if you are deciding to be a brand, then that brand is encompassing all facets of supporting your business, from customer service, product availability, integrity, transparency, continuity. But more importantly, this brand will be what equity you carry into the market. And so offering a buy now, pay later is contributing to the brand that you are, that's essentially representing all things customer. I'm trying to make it easier for the customer to buy my product. I'm trying to offer another layer of service that they potentially wouldn't have otherwise gotten anywhere else, or make it easier for them to get access to it. And so this is supporting the brand, which is presumably predefined as all about customer and all about supporting the growth of our relationship between merchant and customer. And so I think it's safe to say we've all, at one point or another, shopped as a consumer from a merchant that really didn't show much care to the customer and just commoditize the transaction. I'll sell it to you, great. Don't care if you come back or not. And for some that may work, that's great. I think, directly in our space, working with so many wonderful and creative makers and entrepreneurs out there, the importance of developing a relationship to support someone on their journey is way more critical than, trying to sell something as fast as you can. Because at the end of the day, we mentioned this earlier on, we're trying to develop this long-term partnership with someone. Well, what does that mean? It means that there's a variety of different things that they're offering. And one of the most important things is, how do we make it easy for someone to manage their end of the business that is indirect from our end of the business, which is essentially, money flow, right? And I may be buying supplies to make a bunch of product to sell. And by the time I get my money back from selling those products, I don't have to worry about paying it all up to my original supplier. And so these are things that can help, bridge that muddy area of just running a business, right? And entrepreneurs that are listening on this, we all know credit cards, bootstrap, lift the mattress, see what's under there, try to get as much cash as possible. Like, we've been there, we're doing it today. It's relevant. And so bringing awareness to some of these cash management tools like a Sezzle is so critical, both as a consumer, but also to offer your customers as well. And there's that level of value. So as a business owner, I'll speak, specifically, it's been amazing to kind of educate customers on the utilization of this to help them out. And we've seen a lot of successful opportunities where, one may not be able to use a credit card nor have a credit card, but the opportunity to utilize Sezzle to still complete what they need to help their business fuel is a really rewarding thing to witness. Right. And to be a part of that journey is really cool as a successful business story when utilizing Sezzle and kind of endorsing it to the customer. So I really appreciate the technology you guys have come up with, and how easy it is to use, to be honest with you, even from a merchant, with the dashboard that you guys offer us, the accessibility, the reports that we get to download, a lot of really cool, accessible information that's highly intuitive. That gives you better insight as to the market you're supporting, how you can potentially deliver more, and then being able to kind of work with you guys with the support you offer your customers is priceless, right?
Well, thank you for all of that. Like I said, we don't take a lot of the good reviews and good relationships that we have with both our merchants and our customers very lightly at all. It takes forever to build trust, and only takes one action to lose it. And so everything that we can do to continue being better on both fronts is what we're always trying to do. And we're looking for those long-lasting relationships in order to kind of help grow together. Sezzle got its start working with small businesses.
Mm-hmm.
It's still the primary function of our business. We don't want to walk away from that. And so anything that we can do to make life easier is always welcome. So even if you have any feedback, still feel free to shoot me a note offline, and
For sure,
we can get something in. So
that's awesome. Dude, where can people find you? What's the
So Sezzle in particular, Sezzle.com. If you're a merchant or a customer, if you're a merchant, feel free to submit a demo request or email me, jacob.springer@sezzle.ca. Otherwise, demo requests online will filter you into the right team. Make sure you're talking to somebody. If you're looking for it from a customer, same place, Sezzle.com. You can download our mobile app, look around, all sorts of things like that.
And you have your marketplace too, don't you? You guys have a marketplace where actually merchants can upload their products on your marketplace, where customers can go to Sezzle, find brands that they want to work with, and buy product directly from there, which is the best sandbox to play in, because you're growing your followers, you're growing awareness on the brand. another wicked opportunity for merchants to put their product line on your marketplace. Quickly kind of just discuss what that looks like. And I think merchants should take advantage of that, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, so a cool fact is about our top 10% of our users use Sezzle upwards of 49 times a year. And the top quartile is upwards of 20 plus times a year. And so they're going to the mobile app, they're going to the online directory, and they're searching for where else they can use Sezzle. And so what we offer our retail partners is actually free placement onto that directory.
That's awesome.
You can upload a logo, a badge, up to 100 keywords. It functions just like an SEO would, where you can put in keywords, the customer searches you up, they find you, they get redirected to your site, and they can check out. The best part, it's always free. We don't take an affiliate cut. We don't charge for that. It's in our best interest to promote our customers to shop elsewhere because, like I said, we're not making money if they aren't.
Right.
But then for the brand, it's free promotion. You get your brand out there. You can put it up. If someone even goes, even if they don't pay with Sezzle, we're not making anything on that.
Right.
Free promotion.
They've got to be a Sezzle merchant to be able to access them. Okay, perfect. So I just want to confirm that, because want to make sure we're clear there. Again, I highly recommend it. The opportunity to be exposed to a marketplace like that with a growing amount of customers that are using Sezzle as the first stop to see what brands they like I think is incredible. That's huge support for merchants, right? Mm-hmm. Especially wanting to get a name out as well. So that's awesome. Man, I really appreciate this. You rock. You guys have been such great friends of ours, and we really appreciate it. I'm sure everyone is going to get a lot of value out of this. I mean, even every time we talk, I learn things every time. So it's amazing. I love it. Appreciate you, man. Thanks again for coming out. Again, for those that need to get more information, we'll put Jacob's email, website, all links, social, etc. on this release, which you guys will get. And then in addition, obviously, Village is a Sezzle merchant. So if you need further information, you can hit us up on our CS team. We're more than happy to give you more information, send you some white papers. You can also hover over the link, as Jacob mentioned earlier, on our website, so you can gain a little bit of that introductory to who and what Sezzle is and does. But yeah, man, thanks so much for coming out. Really appreciate it, and really looking forward to connecting again soon, man.
Yeah, thanks again for having us. Like I said, I really love this series, and I